Welcome to the Seattle Investors Club podcast with Julie Clark and Joe Bauer, where we share the nuts and bolts of real estate investing from our 20-plus years in the industry. Sit back, relax, listen, and immediately take action. Are you ready? Here we go.
Welcome to the Nuts and Bolts of Real Estate Investing podcast. My name is Joe Bauer, and I'm here with my co-host, Julie Clark. Julie, how you doing today?
I'm all cozy and warm here, Joe. Tucked in my office today, got the heat on as we're getting ready here for Thanksgiving. Sorry, not Thanksgiving, for Halloween. I skipped right over Halloween, went straight to Thanksgiving. You know why? Because I'm hungry. I don't know what it is about this podcast, but every time we get on, I get hungry like immediately, you know? We used to do them in the afternoon, and I always could think about was like pulled pork sandwiches, but now here we are in the morning. I skip straight to Thanksgiving dinner. That's what I'm thinking about this morning. But we're doing good. You know what we did yesterday, which was super fun with the kids. We have our little pod of people that we hang out with, right? It's a limited crew during the, pandemic here. We're still keeping it on lockdown a bit, trying to do our part. But we went and picked up 14 pumpkins yesterday for, how many kids was that? For 4 kids. What do you think we did? You might have cheated because you might have looked at my Facebook page, my personal. But it was so fun. We carved Happy Halloween. Each pumpkin has its own letter. And, so we got 14 to spell out Happy Halloween, 1 letter per pumpkin, and put candles and put it out. It looks so cool. I stole that idea off some high school friend some girl that I known from high school. So thanks, Nicole, for that. I stole that from your Facebook post from years and years ago. But it was super fun. And I thought, okay, let me get these 14 pumpkins for them to keep them off the screens and keep them busy for hours. They busted that shit out in like an hour and a half, So my plan backfired on me, and, as far as occupying their time off screens and so forth, but it did turn out super cool. So any of you are friends with me on Facebook, you can go check it out. I posted a picture last night, but where are you at? What you up to?
I'm hanging out in Fruita, Colorado, where some of the best mountain biking in the country is, but it snowed on us. It went from 70 to 30 or 20 or something like that overnight, and now we're stuck in the snow.
Wow. So what are you going to do? Shift your outdoor activities to snowshoeing?
That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Something on your tires to roll on snow. Can you do that? Or
you could do fat bike tires, but I don't think that they don't work on our bikes. We're just going to drive to Arizona.
There you go. Yeah.
But I want to know what the girls are going to be for Halloween, because they always usually come up with crazy stuff.
Well, that's the thing. Katie's keeping it on lockdown as a secret. So there'll be some, I don't know. I think it'll be scaled down this year, but then Addison, is going to be basically like, she says she's going to be a rat. Now, not quite sure what that means. I don't know. We shall see in a few days. But yes, if you guys have not seen the history of the Halloween costumes in my household, scroll back through my Facebook photos, because there has been some insane, scary stuff coming out of beautiful little girls. I don't know how that happens, but a lot of thinking and goes into that. But let's get on with it today, because we're leaving our fabulous guest here out on the sidelines, and we have some really cool stuff to talk to our friend Gus about today. Today, we have Gus Munoz Castro from PowerISA with us on the podcast. And if you don't know what PowerISA means, then you're about to find out. So Gus, what's up? How you doing? Welcome.
Hey there, Julie. Hey, Joe. Hey, everybody.
Good stuff. So Gus is explain what actually, let's go first, Gus. Tell us what your background is. Joe, kick them off with the first question, and then we'll get into the details of how Gus is going to make all your lives easier today once you hear about the skill set he's going to bring to the table for you.
Yeah, so Gus, definitely, we'd love to hear your background, where you grew up, how you grew up, and how it brought you into real estate and what you're doing today. And if you want to dive into any of the details, we'd love to hear them.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate that. So, well, my name's Gus, and that's short for Gustavo Munoz Castro. I always make it easier for folks. Let's go with Gus, and that's what most people call me. So just making it easier for folks. Originally from Mexico, I grew up on the border with California. All my family was in California, and they would always make fun of me if I ever spoke English with an accent. That's why, hence, I have the more of a SoCal English accent. So that's kind of how that came about. I went to school, went to school here in Mexico. They're in Mexico. I'm in the U.S. right now. And I got recruited out of college by Microsoft. So that brought me to the Great Pacific Northwest. I'd never been there. Went there because of Microsoft in the early 2000s. So, for the folks that are listening, they may not remember, Microsoft was the be-all and end-all of technology back then. It was the only game in town on the desktop, on the mobile phone, on the console, gaming. It was everywhere, right? So it was a pretty awesome opportunity. And I ended up moving full-time to Seattle in 2004. And I stayed at Microsoft until 2013, so almost 10 years.
Wow. What was your college major that they picked you up on?
Actually, it was computer engineering. I was more of a hardware guy. At least my training was in hardware, but I actually liked software way better than hardware. I realized I was not a circuit board, geek. I was more of a software geek. And so I gravitated towards the software companies that they recruited. So, and I hooked up with Microsoft.
Nice. Then what happened?
Yeah. So, it's a little bit of interesting detour from like corporate, software life over to real estate. It was my wife, actually, the one that kind of, got bit by the bug. She also from Mexico, moved with me to Seattle. In 2008, she got licensed as a real estate agent. She's also an engineer, by the way, but she's like, hey, I like this real estate thing. This is awesome, right? And it was right as, the world was ending, right? In 2008, 2009 timeframe. And she got licensed, and she became the rookie of the year for her office by doing like 8 deals or something like that. So it was a pretty rough time to jump into real estate, to be honest. And I kind of saw her go through that. And then I just saw the market, shift from a super crazy seller's market into a super crazy buyer's market. Very, within about a year. It was a pretty wild transition. I saw that. I got to meet a lot of investors because a lot of people making deals happen back in the day. I learned about short sales. I learned about all these things my wife was doing. I thought it was super interesting. And there came a point where I was like, man, I'd rather help my wife out with her business than work at Microsoft. That's essentially what it came down to. And then my skill set, right? I realized I was good with people. I was good at sales. I was good at a lot of things that I was just not using at Microsoft at all. A lot of skills that I had. So, and I was there for a decade. I love Microsoft, great company. And I became a senior engineer. I was a manager there. I went through all the corporate training. I did recruiting for Microsoft. That was all about Microsoft. But I kind of realized that my future and my skill set was going to take me somewhere else. So in 2013, I quit Microsoft and jumped full-time into real estate. I got licensed in 2010. I was just doing like nights and weekends for a few years, just cautiously, right? Taking it easy, not jumping into crazy engineer, right? So I want to have a plan. And by 2013, it was time. The market really started to shift in about 2012 timeframe. For everything, retail, investors, just a really, really, really good market that continues to this day in the general sense, right? It's been a pretty crazy sellers, a good decade for real estate in that area and nationally. So I decided to jump full time into it and started it. I was going to take a 6-month hiatus. I was going to take 6 months off. I was going to maybe change companies, maybe to Amazon, Google, Facebook, but I was going to help my wife out building her team. She was with Keller Williams and said, hey, I'm going to help her build her team, right? Her Keller Williams team. Let's make it happen. And I never looked back, right? 6 months became 9 months, 12 months, and it's been 7 years. And I've self-employed since then. Built up a real estate team, did some investing, and now I've got an inside sales company, PowerISA. So that's where we are right now.
Wow, good stuff. It's interesting how many engineers I think like and move towards real estate or investing in that way. Right. I wonder why that is. I don't know.
Yeah, I think as engineers, one thing, actually, as a real estate agent, this is weird. I think you'll love this, Julie. I loved working with investors as a realtor. because I'm definitely a numbers guy. I can work around a spreadsheet like a devil. And I can go a few levels deep, which a lot of investors want that, right? And investors in the Seattle area, especially in the Seattle area, a lot of them are, well, not all, but a good chunk of them are going to be, from that Boeing, Microsoft, Amazon community. So they're going to appreciate someone that can, like banter, like an engineer. They like that. They appreciate that. And they've got really high incomes, right? So they want to do, back then it was all in-state investing. I know a lot of people now doing out-of-state investing in that community. So, high income, and they want to diversify. They don't want to have all their cash into, company stock, or they don't want to have it all cash or all in the stock market. So they're always thinking about, hey, how do I diversify, educating themselves. I think a lot of engineers kind of either are interested in real estate, jump into the game either as investors. I know quite a few of, former engineers that jumped in on retail real estate to build their teams and do business there. And that's what I did. My first, job was serving my community, my engineers. Actually, since I came from Mexico, my niche, check this out, was, recent immigrants from all of Latin America in Seattle that went to work for, Boeing, Amazon, Microsoft, the works. That was my niche. And that was a pretty awesome niche. And I was able to, do about, 25, 30 transactions a year just from that group pretty consistently.
Awesome. You know what fascinates me? We're totally off topic. That's why I love our podcast, because we can do whatever we want. Fascinates me is, how does the real estate work in Mexico? Like, are there agents or... That's a whole
snap. What a good question. Holy cow. I've never been asked that question. So it is wildly different. But you know what, Julie? Real estate in the US and Canada is distinct from the entire planet. So I guess anywhere you're going to go is going to be kind of the same deal. Because, in the US and Canada, you've got the MLS, right? You've essentially got licensing, like every state has some kind of licensing model, right? So you've got like a certain level of professionalization, and you've got a lot of these awesome shared tool sets like the MLSs.
Right.
No other country has that.
Right.
So right.
That big market share. Like the one brokerage firm has huge market share.
Yeah, exactly. So, and the listings are tied to the brokerage, 100%. So if you want to look for a property, let's say my brother lives in London, and he just bought a home recently. So he went through his experience and said, hey, get a buyer's agent. There are no buyer's agents in London. That's not a thing. The only people that run the show are the listing agents, and they try to hide as much information as possible because information is leveraged there, right? There is no MLS. There is no that kind of concept. So it's really, really different. And what's that?
It is super, super interesting to me. And we're not gonna talk about this today because you're KW and I'm EXP, and we don't care, right? It doesn't matter. We don't care. Who cares? But I will say, which is super cool, which I don't know if you know, that EXP has now launched, I believe, in Mexico, and they're in the UK. And
very cool.
And I find that fascinating to see the international growth of, the countries that they are going into, right? Because like I think about, I have a guy from Mexico that's with me on my team, and I'm like, man, you can make that connection, right? You can start building almost like a Mexico EXP, squad or whatever you want to do. It's very fascinating to me. So maybe sometime you and I will grab a coffee and talk shop about
and chat about it. Yeah, it's very different, but it's mostly because U.S. and Canada are so distinct. Because other than the U.S. and Canada, and everywhere else is about the same. It's essentially the same kind of deal. But the U.S. and Canada make it so much easier.
Right. Interesting. Okay. Well, let's jump back to it. Tell us, what does PowerISA do? Because people are like, what are you talking about? I mean, real estate agents, you might know, but can you be hired? Do you work for real estate investors that are unlicensed, or you only work with licensed people?
We work with investors, actually. So, and investors, means like a bunch of different things. So we work with fix and flip investors, wholesalers, like the really large wholesaling companies, the ones that have teams, right? The ones that have like acquisition managers and staff. And so they build out and they have a prospecting arm. So any investor, right? And the lifeblood of any investor or an investment business is deal flow, right? They've got to be generating deals. They've got to be generating appointments. They've got to be generating, the next person that might want to sell their home, distressed sellers, whatever you want to call it. that's the lifeblood of the business. So the larger, if you're an individual investor, you're out there hustling, you're driving for dollars, you're networking, you're looking for those deals, you're talking to wholesalers, you're looking for those deals. If you're like a wholesaling company or a larger investment company, you've got a part of your team that helps you generate leads and convert leads. So we come in on the conversion side, right? People hire us.
Let's back it up for a minute. Let's describe what Power is. Just Power ISA. What is an ISA? Why does everybody need to aspire to be able to hire an ISA? Because you guys do what? Just we're going to go simple here for a second, then we'll jump down to some nuts and bolts.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. So ISA stands for Inside Sales Agent. And that role exists on a retail real estate team. It also exists in like an investment team. And that role, their goal is to either do outbound prospecting. They're basically on the phone. They're the real estate telemarketer. They're on the phone, either doing outbound prospecting, like a lead generation activity. And they can also be more inbound focused on a lead conversion activity. So ISAs, those are kind of the two general roles that they play in a team. They can do outbound lead generation and conversion, or they can do inbound lead conversion and follow-up and appointment setting. So those are kind of the two major areas that ISAs work in. And for investors, it usually tilts one way or the other. They either want a bunch of people cold calling, generating new leads, generating potential sellers, even if they're going to be 6 months out, 12 months out, or they're working inbound leads from like Google pay-per-click, Facebook, some other services that generate leads for investors, and they're calling them because these are, got to work those lists, trying to generate those appointments and generate those deals.
Do you guys text as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Everything under the sun. So when you hire someone, we provide virtual ISAs, right? So our folks, all of our folks are based out of Mexico. They're native English speakers. A lot of them are U.S. citizens living in Mexico. We hire them and they get kind of embedded into the teams. So, for example, if you got an ISA on your team, Julie, you'd have them there and they work within your tool set, right? So they're working within your CRM, within your marketing platform, and they're following up with those people that come in, or you're hooking them up to an automatic dialer, and they're working lists that you have, either, prospecting lists, they're working driving for dollars lists, probates, distressed sellers, anything you can find.
Awesome. So how do you speak differently to the lead, to the prospect, if they are an outbound making the call, like especially that means a cold call, versus inbound? Is there a difference in tonality, aggressiveness? Give us the rundown.
Yeah, really good question. So the outbound can take a couple different forms, and more than whether it's inbound or outbound, I talk about the source. What kind of list are we calling? If it's a true cold calling list, like calling the neighborhood, and a lot of people do this, right? They're going to say, "Hey, I know that in this geographic, 2-mile radius is my preferred neighborhood, and there's a lot of properties that meet my criteria. Just carpet bomb it, right? Like call everything you can find." Let's get every single list, every single number we can search for in that area, and let's just call everybody, right? And tell them, hey, we're looking, and you're just trying to talk to as many people as possible. And when you're doing true cold call, like calling the phone book, essentially, you just want to be as fast as possible. You got about 5 seconds before they hang up on you. They realize that it's a telemarketing call and they want you gone, right? So the outbound telemarketing for the true cold call is all about just getting the message out. Hey, I'm looking for people that want cash fast. We close homes in any condition. Click. They might just hang up right after that. But if you talk to the right person, then they might be interested in doing something with you.
Do you leave a voicemail?
What was that?
Do you leave a voicemail if they don't answer?
We don't actually. So we found, and this is just from the work we've done, it's more likely they're going to call you back if they're just curious who called. We found that in general, especially for the cold call. When it's true cold call, you don't want to leave any trace. You just want to try and provide a little bit of curiosity and go, hey, who are you calling with? You're usually calling with a local number, so you can say, oh, I wonder who's calling me, and you can just deliver that pitch. And 99 times out of 100, you're going to deliver the pitch, and they're just not going to be interested. That's the nature of the game. You're looking for that one person out of those 100 that are going to go, tell me more. I'm interested, right? They're not going to hang up after the first 5 seconds. You're going to keep it going.
You ever do like 2 dials to the same number, one right after another? You know that trick, where they think, oh, who's that calling me? Does that, I don't know if that ups the chances.
Well, the tooling that we have can do that. It just kind of depends how aggressive you want to go on that list. If you do a little bit too many dials, you can get that number blocked. And that's one of the things that's been happening. When I first started the company back in 2015, we did 100% outbound cold calling. That's all we did. We had 15, 20 people in the room just doing outbound cold calling. The technology has changed, right, since 2015. So it's a lot harder to make those dials. The filtering systems are better. The anti-spam is better. So it's a little bit harder to be aggressive on the phones. You actually want to take the opposite approach. Like, call people. Don't go too crazy on it because that number will get blocked. Your carrier will stop you, and you're not going to get that throughput that you need.
Yeah. Are you guys using like Mojo Dialer or something, or what do you use?
When we're embedded within the companies, we'll use whatever technology they have. So it's been like Mojo, Vulcan. We have a system called Finero. If the company if the team doesn't have like a dialer, we have a system that we use called Finero that we can use to power dial. It just depends what kind of list we're calling and how big the list is. If it's 100 numbers total, we can actually dial those one by one. You don't need a power like a big automation. If it's a 10,000 person neighborhood list, yeah, you probably want to use some of the automation around it to make it a little bit faster.
Which is your favorite between the different Mojo, RedX, Vulcan? Do you have a favorite since you guys are embedded and use a bunch of different ones? Do you have any feedback from your?
I like Mojo because of its simplicity. It's very simple to set up, configure, monitor. The reporting is very simple to use. I really like that aspect of it because whenever we're working with our clients, if I can do something with a dialer and they can't, that's never a good situation, right? You want to have something that's easy to understand, easy to set up, that's very transparent. So I really like Mojo in that aspect of it. Now, almost every list provider has a dialer. They are not all the same, to be really honest with you. Some of them just, maybe they're just very basic. I don't want to knock anybody, but I think Mojo, still is one of the top because of its ease of use and just very, very easy to set up and configure. I don't think you need any help really to do it. Some of these other dialers, they have way less functionality than Mojo has, and they don't have like a multi-line dialing mode. They just have a single line dialing mode, etc. Mojo is still one of my top favorites, to be honest.
Yeah. Aren't there some rules on whether you can multi-call or single call, or maybe that's, what's that?
Yeah, definitely. So there's some restrictions, and for anyone, listening, you should definitely check out you should Google it out and check out the government guidelines. It's particularly sensitive around mobile phones. So, and that's why I mentioned you got to be careful what kind of source you're calling. If you're calling landlines, there's less restriction. If you're calling mobile phones, you're not supposed to be able to use a power dialer. And even if you use a power dialer, you're supposed to keep it at a certain setting, like a government recommended setting, to make sure you're not dropping a bunch of calls. The problem with some of these automatic dialers, you can some of the more powerful ones, you can have 10 lines dialing at once, like 10 numbers are called at once, and maybe 3 of them pick up. You're going to talk to one of them, and you're going to drop 2 calls. So that's what the regulation is about. You don't want to have a bunch of, and if you've ever had this happen to you, someone dials you, you pick up and crickets. There's nothing on the other end. That's weird. That might be an automatic dialer kind of got rogue and just leaving you on a drop call. So the government recommends, and there's a lot of regulations. And one of the cool things about tools like Mojo, it helps you stay compliant. It's actually really, really easy to be compliant with the do not call list, with the drop call limit. So that's why I like a tool like that.
I use Vulcan myself, but do you, and I like it, it's a single dial though. I don't think they have, I don't know. I use a single dial, but I was going to ask you about do not call. All these gurus, I feel like they're teaching people workarounds on the do not call. Like, well, you can say it like this. I mean, I'm a rule follower. I mean, I freak. I'd rather sleep at night than have anything to worry about. Right. And so what's your opinion of do not call?
So do not call is real. I think people need to understand that, whenever, if you kind of take a list, any kind of list, it doesn't matter, expired listings for real estate agents or circle prospecting lists or investor lists. If you do not filter against the national do not call list, and some states have a state do not call list, by the way. So if you don't filter against these lists, you're taking a risk, right? The risk is, sometimes people don't understand what the risk is because they say, oh yeah, the FTC is not going to come after me. It's not the FTC. It's going to come after you. It's the individual. It's the person you're bothering, right? That has their number on the DNC. You're calling them. They have the right to take you to court, and it can be small claims court. And it's $1,000 for each call you made, to their number that they can prove. So that's really the risk. And that's sometimes people think, oh yeah, the government's not going to come after me. An individual that has enough free time is going to go after you, right? They're going to send you a cease and desist, and they're going to want $1,000 to make it go away. So I tell people, it's a risk, and I'm not going to tell, I'm not a lawyer. I don't give any legal advice, but you got to understand that if you make enough dials, if you call the do not call list every day, you will hit that. And we work with hundreds of clients across the U.S. and Canada. And actually, Canada, this is a non-issue because they don't even allow you to do it. But in the U.S., the rules are a little bit more flexible than Canada. So we only do outbound cold calling in the States. But if people ignore the do not call list, it will come back to bite you. It's pretty much.
So what are your clients doing with their do not call? They're just subcategorizing that into a separate list and doing direct mail, or what? What are they doing with?
Correct. They're doing everything that isn't cold calling, which can be, like I said, it can be direct mail, it can be Facebook retargeting, it can be Google retargeting, YouTube. So anything else you can use, any kind of identifiable information that doesn't violate the do not call list. Do not call list is a big thing for sure.
Have you, when you have the list, when people are providing you the lists, and like we said, so to upload a custom audience into Facebook, you either need a phone number or an email address. Mm-hmm. Do you get involved in the weeds that far? Do you find that, for example, the numbers now, where are you guys getting the numbers from? Is your team is just plugging into whoever you're embedded with in regards to, like Vulcan 7 provides mine, right? So you just
definitely. Yeah, we usually plug into what the team already has, but all the dialers typically have some kind of data service that they own. A lot of the larger investor teams, they're going to hire individual like skip tracers and list builders. A lot of list building companies out there, and some of them like super. They keep it tight. They're super secretive about it. But there's a lot of freelancers out there you can find to do list building. The best way to do it is get a reference from another investor for your area. That's the best way to do it. For the individual, the freelance kind of list builders, it can be really powerful. But yeah, the more information you get, the number, the email, it's about the reliability and how accurate that information is. Phone numbers are notoriously inaccurate.
You don't get involved in the custom audience building part, right?
I don't. But we kind of see that they do that, and we make recommendations too. Hey, if you have a bunch of numbers that we can't dial, then use another avenue to reach out to them. Right, the list is valuable, and especially if it's a high value, high cost list, you always want to find some way to market to it. And direct mail is the number one way that most investors still get deals.
Yeah, right. I mean, if you guys are out there listening, our audience here listening, and you are like, oh man, I need to learn all this stuff. I'm a agent or I'm a investor or whatever. And we're talking pretty fast here because we're talking the same language, and have knowledge together, Gus and I, about this subject matter. If you guys need some follow-up help, of course, always reach out to me, Julie at SeattleInvestorsClub.com. Would be a good place to do so. And we can talk about, how you can learn how to be more of a ninja on this topic that we're talking about today, as well. And so let's get back to it then. I don't know if we answered the question because we are having so much fun here. I'm having fun. I love talking to you. This is great.
Yeah, you're talking shop. You're a practitioner, right? So you kind of know. I can tell right off the bat you've done this before because you're asking some really good questions.
How long it took me though? It took me, Joe, right? My God, Joe can attest that I was the biggest dipshit when it comes to any of this type of stuff, however long ago when Joe and I got started. But now, I got my flow down. It feels powerful to know this information. I'll tell you what. So it's like sky's the limit, right? So let's go back to outbound versus inbound. And, outbound meaning you're making cold calls or doing your circle prospecting, your farm calls, or driving for dollar calls, whatever you're doing. Versus inbound, is there and how you speak to those people differently. I don't know if we actually got to the answer on that.
Great. Great point. Let me go back to that. So we started off by saying that when you're doing the true cold call, it's about being quick and being gone, because they're more than likely just going to hang up on you. They have no interest, right? So if you're talking to someone on a much more targeted list, particularly if you're in a distressed seller situation, the approach is different, and it's very different, actually. So if you're calling some folks that are under notice of default, if you're calling folks on a probate list, if you're calling or if you're generating inbound leads with those same characteristics, they're coming to you, right? Hey, cash fast. We buy homes as is, as is condition, no questions asked. Those kind of advertisements are going to generate folks that are kind of in some of those situations. There, the approach is different, because you just want to say, hey, I got your message through Facebook. I got your inquiry. I see you're interested in selling your home fast, close within 7 days, all cash. Tell me about your situation, and then you got to shut up. That's the training that we give our ISAs. When you're in a distressed seller situation, the best thing you can do is kind of try and get them to start talking, right? And after that, very simple set of instructions: be a human being, show some empathy and curiosity. That's it. Be a human, empathy, curiosity, and you will be surprised the kind of conversation you can have with someone, even if they're going through a really difficult time.
Right. Exactly. And, my tip for all you real estate brokers out there, because any lead, I love any lead. I don't care what it is. I don't care why they're calling me, what the message is, whatever the message is on how they're contacting me, regarding cash or whatever it is. I always make sure to focus on only talking about that message that they, where did it come from? What's the message, hook that they, or the lead magnet information that they came to me off of. And I only talk about that. But then especially on these cash ones, because I find that there's people these days, because of all the Zillow cash buyer stuff, or there's so many people offering cash opportunities to make you a cash offer these days. I find that people are sometimes just curious, right? It might not have anything to do with distress. They're just like, you know what? I mean, I just had an appointment this weekend, and it came off of a cash offer message. And it was more like, well, they have no distress. Their home is completely remodeled and it's beautiful over in West Seattle area. They just are like, you know what? I don't feel like listing it for sale. So we're just curious. And absolutely, I converted that lead, right? But I had to address the cash part first. But as my tip that I want to throw out there to you guys for all you investor or agent broker investors, is that one of the things I always say is, that sounds good, Gus. I'll circle back with you and get that information, or I'll see you on Saturday, or whatever is going to happen. And then I just say, hey, quick question. What's your plan B? If you don't get a cash offer that works for you, what's your plan B? Are you going to have like a friend or a family member list that for you, help you with a listing or something? That way I'm not saying, hey, do you have an agent that you work with? It is so under the radar that they either say, yeah, my brother is an agent, or my mother, or my neighbor, or, oh, I've had a guy that I've worked with for 5 years. Or they say, you know what? I'll just cross that bridge when I get to it. No. And then I know right there that there's so many different options I can talk to these people about. I will for sure get there. If it's just like a cash offer and I'm wholesaling, and I can tell by talking on the phone with them that their house is too nice, or, it's not a situation, it allows me to steer the ship with my time. But as a broker investor, I can convert any lead. And I think you're all nuts if you're investors that don't have a license or somebody on your team. You don't have to act as an agent. You can refer it out, to somebody like me or somebody on your team, and collect your referral fee legally and easily, rather than this workaround wholesale, how do you get them paid when you can't pay them type of thing,
Absolutely. And, and you touched on a couple of great points there. You always want to try and qualify on motivation. And if you can't, or you're not, they don't qualify for motivation, you at least want to talk about the property, right? Is a property in a retail kind of condition? Does it have any major issues that would not allow it to be a retail sale? So when we work with, for example, wholesalers or the investors that only want the qualified property and the qualified motivation, then and they don't have, and I hate when this happens, they don't have anybody that's licensed. and they don't have a relationship with a broker. So they'll toss those leads. They'll get rid of them. Your home's in good condition. You're not distressed. Bye. Like they don't care. They really don't care.
I train wholesalers because the Seattle Investors Club, we got lots of wholesalers. I have some wholesalers that I work with that I'll say, yeah, I'll run your retail leads. And I talk to them about what to do on the phone. For me, I'm like, just say I'm one of your team members. If you decide or you think it's borderline or it's retail, we can either go on the appointment together or you can send me, just set the appointment and I'll worry about it later, whether it's a problem time or not, or let's connect our calendars or whatever. So you guys aren't leaving these leads on the table. It's ridiculous. I can't say, oh, I know somebody, let me give you their number. It does not work that way. You have got to be in the moment in that transition where you are planning that all along. Like, you know what to say if it becomes obvious that it's not going to be a wholesale deal, or if it's borderline, right? Have two people go on the appointment. I don't mind going on appointments. And we know right when we get there almost, or within the first, 5 minutes, whether it's your lead or my lead, and we just have our signal and there you go. And everybody still gets paid. I mean, you guys all you investors out there, if you're not doing that and you want to do that, call me up. I've got brokers in every single county, that we can work on with that. And if you're listening and you're in Eastern Washington, Spokane or Yakima or the Tri-Cities, I need some Tri-Cities brokers to work with. So if that's you and you're interested in talking to me, give me a call. But
hey guys, it's Julie here with a quick break from the show to discuss an opportunity some of you may have interest in, which is to work more closely with me. On almost a daily basis, I get calls from investors and brokers, both new and experienced, asking me for guidance or advice. I love helping you guys out, and it keeps me on my toes too. So with that said, I wanted to let you know that I have a private broker coaching community called the VIP Education Community. And the best part is that it's 100% free. That's right, it's free to join. So whether you're a traditional broker or a broker investor, my VIP education community offers personalized one-on-one coaching from not just me, but also from my experienced broker friends with expertise in all disciplines of real estate and real estate investing. We'll teach and share our modern marketing strategies, our tech and lead generation resources, plus teach you how to identify or offer up opportunities for yourself or for your clients using techniques such as seller financing, lease options, land entitlement deals, BRRRR investing, flipping, multifamily or commercial coaching, whatever you like. We've got it all covered for you. The future of real estate is changing fast, and to stay in the game, it's time to learn about all the options you can offer your buyer and seller clients, as well as, if you want, learn how to use those skills to grow your own real estate portfolio. If you'd like more details about joining my VIP education community, reach out to me at julie@seattleinvestorsclub.com or text me at 206-910-2985 or just send me a Facebook message. My new favorite phrase is community equals confidence. So let's navigate the future of real estate together. Now, back to the show.
So what's the best the lead type that you think converts the best? Is it when you're on the phones, is it outbound or inbound first?
Oh,
and
well, yeah, it's not even close. Oh yeah, the inbound lead, way more. So it just depends. Also depends on your approach. The outbound prospecting is great. Don't get me wrong. Because the ROI is great. Yes, it takes those leads. You get less leads, right? Let's say you're calling all day, you might get just one or two potential sellers right out of that. All day, 8 hours of calling can get you just maybe one or two nurtures. Doesn't mean appointments. It means people that go into the list to be nurtured, to be followed up with, send them material, send them information. So it's a little bit of a slower start when you're doing outbound cold calling. And once you pick up momentum and make that list larger, and we had a client actually in the Bothell Mill Creek area where we helped them build a 1,500 person list by getting 1 to 2 people a day, right? So just multiply that by a couple of years, and the list becomes huge, right? So now he's built his whole both for investing and retail off of that list. But it took time. It takes time, takes patience. You got to work that list. So and any kind of business that you have that's prospecting based can be a very scalable business. So I love prospecting. It's a slower start. Inbound.
Let me ask you a question.
Go for it.
On the outbound. Do you have more success with your outbound calls calling for real estate brokers with a real estate broker message or with an investor message for the investors on the outbounds? And what are the stats? Is it like you call 100, you get one, or what kind of thing? Is it different?
Okay.
For some of us who are both investors and brokers, we could make either message on our outbounds, right?
Sure.
Which one works?
Yeah, absolutely. So the retail is always the easiest by far, not even close. If you're doing true, let's say you're calling an entire neighborhood, you've got 1,000 numbers to dial. You're probably only going to talk to 100 people out of that 1,000, probably in any given day. And you're going to get maybe 1 or 2 people interested in selling in the next year. There's nothing, you don't even know if they're distressed, non-distressed. You're not really sure about that yet. It's just 1 or 2. The conversion is going to be 100 conversations, 1 to maybe 2 interested sellers. And you're not even qualifying. When it's true cold calling, you're not even qualifying for a condition of distress yet. So it's like that's the regular retail statistic. So it takes a lot of conversations to get like 1 or 2 people. If you're really skilled in cold calling, that can be higher. But again, it might not 3 or 4. That's what I mean when it's higher. 3 or 4 interested sellers, potential sellers, but they could be 12 months out.
If you're calling a probate list as a real estate agent versus an investor.
The more specialized the list, the conversion rate's going to go up a lot. So if we're calling the phone book versus calling a more specialized list, the specialized list is going to convert higher, 100%.
So why would anybody call and spend time on a blanket list when it's easy to get these specialized lists? I understand circle prospecting. I've got a listing or a deal in the neighborhood. Yes, I want to call that neighborhood, right? But blanket lists of randos, I think I'd be more inclined to tell everybody to pick a niche list, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I think there it's just a function of the cost of the list, and just how many numbers you can generate. I think in some markets, in some areas, if you get a list, let's say that it's high equity, let's say the owner's over 65 years old, Rambler type of house, that might generate maybe only a few hundred, in the hundreds of numbers, right? In hundreds of numbers. And you can call that and you can nurture that. And that might convert at, instead of 1% out of every conversation, it might be 5% of conversations, 10% of conversations you might be able to convert. It's a very, very targeted list. But if you're an investor and you've got, an inside sales team, or you've got, acquisition managers that make calls, call the highest value list first and then call everything else. Don't stop calling. If you don't have appointments, I want you guys on the phone. That's usually the approach you want to take, because, hey, call your highest value source first, follow up with those first, set those appointments first. And if you don't have any appointments the rest of the day, guys, well, then you're making calls the rest of the day. And if you don't have any other lists, you're calling some of these blanket areas. And I never put that as the first priority. I agree with you. It's not the highest converting list. But it definitely worked, and it can move the ball forward. If you don't have a bunch of appointments, Julie, you have a bunch of time. So that is a time. It is kind of a grind, but it can definitely. It works though. It will put people in your database for you to nurture longer term.
Do you think people, when they have time, like we're talking about, should maybe as a priority instead of the cold calling, right? Because you got to have a omnipresence is the big buzzword, right? Do you think that or is that just a whole different team of people that is working on taking these lists like we were talking about and uploading them into a Facebook ad to then get inbound instead of doing the outbound? Would that be a higher priority action item these teams and people should take?
Oh yeah, definitely. Because the inbound, that is also going to be one of those great sources, right? Inbound leads, any kind of, and when I say inbound lead, I mean Google pay-per-click, Facebook pay-per-click, YouTube, anything that comes to you, right? That is always going to be, you can get an appointment the first day when you turn that on. It's, you have that potential.
Have you noticed any higher lead quality or higher conversions or higher inbound leads? I guess I'll say maybe all we need is the inbound lead. For that, conversions is later. Have you noticed any higher inbound lead stats for Facebook versus Google PPC versus YouTube?
So YouTube is the one that people use the least. So I have the least amount of information for YouTube, but between Google and Facebook, Google wins. But there's a caveat to that. Google is also more adequately priced, right? So if an investor, distressed seller lead on Facebook costs you $30, on Google that lead could cost you $100 more, actually, right. A qualified lead. So, it's a better source, but it's also more adequately priced. I see a lot of investors. They definitely put money into Google Pay. I see people built their business on Google Pay-per-click, but since it's gotten more and more expensive, and next year, Julie, will be more expensive than this year. So it kind of keeps going in that direction. They want to look for an edge. They want to find the thing that not everybody's, prospecting on. They want to have an ad there. And yes, Facebook leads do convert less than Google pay-per-click. But at the end of the day, Julie, what counts is cost per acquisition. And cost per acquisition is actually as competitive or better than Google.
On Facebook.
On Facebook, yeah.
Right. Well, it kind of makes me feel like people should be doing more YouTube because, like you said, your costs
100%.
are right.
Yeah.
Right.
And here's another thing, and this is a super golden nugget. Anything related to real estate on Facebook, there's a lot of restrictions on. There's something called the special ads category. You can search for it online. It's a big deal. You can't do a lot of targeting you used to be able to do on Facebook if it's a real estate kind of ad. On YouTube, there's no such restriction. Not yet. We're talking about the fall of 2020. We're recording this now. There is no restriction like that right now on the YouTube ad. So that's an interesting thing.
Right. And YouTube is owned by Facebook, right?
Owned by Google. Google, actually.
Owned by Google. YouTube is owned by Google?
Yep.
Okay. So cool. This is all such fun. I could talk to you forever. Let's see my other things. So, like if we were building a plan for somebody, we would say probably do Facebook ads and outbound prospecting. The Facebook ads will then generate the inbound, right? And as you get some money and you can get a budget together, then allocate a certain budget to spend on PPC, right? And just slowly build that. It does cost more money, but they're higher quality leads. And then I guess it's paid YouTube, right?
Yeah, I think everyone should be at least experimenting with YouTube. YouTube is a little bit trickier because it's video, right? So you want to, people can get intimidated by video because you've got to, probably going to put your face out there, your voice out there. You should try it. I think it's worth a try because there's so little competition on YouTube right now for those kind of folks, and you can target on YouTube. So we should do another episode just on YouTube, Julie, because it's just pretty wild of what you can do there.
We'll do it. You call me. Yeah. Whenever you're ready, whatever you want to talk about. Whenever you feel like you want to talk about something, you call me. We'll do a podcast about it. But,
we'll do. But I have a feeling that in a year, we'll be talking about YouTube like it's the new Facebook. The same way Facebook was the new Craigslist, the same way Craigslist was the new Google. I think it's just the next thing. And you always want to try and be experimenting on the next platform. You want to be in there when it's a 10x ROI versus Google, which is like a 1.5x ROI probably.
Well, that's everybody trying this on TikTok now.
There we go. It's another platform. I'm like, hey, if you feel your target demographic is going to be on there, go on there and check it out.
Yeah, if your target demographic is 12 years old, then
or their parents, right? Maybe if you're talking, let them talk to mom and dad, and all these platforms, they age up, right? Eventually, But yeah, TikTok might be a little bit early. But I love YouTube because my 3-year-old kid is on YouTube and my 75-year-old dad is on YouTube. YouTube, everybody uses YouTube.
I love YouTube.
It's like Google, Facebook.
Also, let's see. So what's the cost of hiring an ISA? And when should you do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So that always depends kind of, what kind of approach you're going to take. If you're hiring someone in-house in the U.S., typically it's going to be, maybe $10 to $15 an hour. It's usually a salaried position. That's why a lot of real estate teams are like always cautious when they hire ISAs. It tends to be more of a salaried plus bonus position. So you need someone that's licensed. You have to usually have an hourly wage. There's a little bit of a big investment when you're doing it like an in-house person in the U.S. or even virtual person in the U.S. Right now, more and more people are hiring like virtual ISAs, even the ones that are U.S. based. When you look outside the U.S., and there's a lot of markets for like international folks to call in English. I mean, the biggest one is Philippines. Yeah. All of Latin America, I would say, is a close number 2. The costs, go way down, right? So you can get people in the Philippines for like $2 to $3. In Latin America, it's pricier. Typically, the English is much better. So it's going to be maybe on the low end, like $5 an hour, but typically going to be like in the $10 range, on that range. But the difference is there's no commission. It's usually, $5 to $10 all in, right? So that there's no additional commission cost. So if a U.S. person is $15 an hour, usually it's going to be another $15 or $20 an hour when you factor in the commission split.
Awesome. So like if somebody wanted to work though with you, how does that work for them to engage and hire your company?
right?
Yeah, definitely. So, they reach out to us, they talk to us about their goals, and, we try to match them. Hey, do we have expertise in that? Do we have scripts for that? Do we have experience in that? And they can hire someone from us, either a part-time person or a full-time person. And then we just try to match the best person to their campaign.
So
If it's, for example,
a broker? Are you guys more like a
agency?
Do you are an agency to connect people to these virtual cold callers or virtual ISAs, or do those ISAs work for you? And then they're hiring.
They work for us, and they kind of hire us to manage them and monitor them and do all that stuff to keep it. And we found that's just a more stable model. They tend to stay in the seat longer. Just not every investor and agent is different. Some people have a lot of experience managing people. A lot of people don't, right? So we actually help them kind of fill in that gap and keep that person embedded and kind of happy on their team.
And how does somebody get you access to their Facebook leads? Is that like a Zapier type thing, or?
Yep, you got it. Zapier's Zapier. That's the one people use the most. It's just a piece of software that helps connect systems, and that's a great one. There's other ones, but that's a really popular one. Love that one.
So what CRM do you guys use?
We have a custom CRM actually. So we built something custom because we do a couple of different things. We have actually a service that if you let's say you only generate 20 leads a month, 30 leads a month, 50 leads a month, it doesn't make a lot of sense to have even a part-time person calling those. So we have a pay-per-lead service as well. So if you want to just send us your distressed seller leads, and maybe they're not that many, but you want someone calling them, right, 10 times, 20 times to try to convert them, then you can send them to us on a pay-per-lead kind of service. And we have a custom CRM that handles that because we do that for hundreds of clients across the US and Canada. But if you have one of our embedded folks, like a dedicated person on your team, then they work with whatever CRM you've got.
Well, that brings me to the question then of how many times do you call a lead before you consider it dead?
Oh, really good question. So I'm going to share with you, I'm going to answer it in a little bit of a roundabout way, but we've seen that if you get 100, and I'm talking about Facebook because those are usually the hardest to convert. So Facebook lead, 100 Facebook leads come in. If we want to get a chance to talk to 51 of those, like the majority of them, we have to do 14 attempts in 60 days. That's what we found. This is just us calling a lot of these leads, and Facebook tends to be the hardest one. So 14 attempts within 60 days, we talk to the majority of them on average. So anything less than that, I think you're kind of, you're always leaving some potential contacts on the table. You want to talk to people. And 14, and they can be phone calls, it can be text messages. Email we don't do because it's a very low converting source, especially for that initial conversation. You can nurture them via email, but that initial conversation, very, very, very low conversion on email. We just do phone call and text message.
Interesting. That's you guys just got a big tip there. So then is that a daily thing? So if you're going to do 14 attempts in 60 days, how do you spread it out?
It's more intense. The earlier the lead is, the more intense it is. So it's usually going to be 6 or 7 touches the first week. And then we're going to spread it out like a 2 or 3 the following week, 2 or 3 the following week. And then you're doing maybe 1 a week. The rest of it, because you can't go too intense, for a very long time because your number will get blocked. The carrier will block you. There's a lot. You can't go crazy on these. And you do want to mix it up, right? Call, text, and see if any of those is going to prompt a response. You just want them to answer either a text message or a call back. Even if it's to say, stop calling me, I absolutely just have one quick question, right? Try and get the question out there. But you want their attention. You want a response. So yeah, you start intense right away. And we have teams that I've seen that do like 15 touches the first week. I think that's a little bit overboard. But you want to at least be touching at least once to twice a day, and then scale it back as the further out you get. And then at some point after those 60 days, they go into your pond, right? They're in the uncontacted lead pool, and those get hit monthly. Those get hit every couple months. You always want to hit that list, the pond, the swamp, because you're going to get appointments out of that. Every single time you hit those, sometimes some teams have thousands upon thousands of leads in these ponds, and you can get appointments on every single run. You just can't call it every day. It's not really useful.
Right. So awesome. Such good stuff. What's like a text message you would send somebody short and sweet?
So texting is interesting, right? So texting is great because it gets a lot of people's attention. You don't want to put a paragraph in there, though, right? A lot of our text messages are like, "Hey, I just called you, Julie. Are you getting these? I mean, I just want to make sure I got the right number." I mean, a lot of them are just like that because we just want you to say yes or no and try to start a dialogue off of that. Right. So we use automation for a lot of our texting. So you just want to make sure that they're even getting that. They just want to prompt a response. I just dropped the voicemail. Can you talk right now? Something like that. It's very, very conversational.
Who do you guys use for texting? Like, what's your texting service?
We have a couple different ones. So Twilio is one of the most popular ones. Very easy to use and set up. I really recommend that. Twilio itself, or through a lot of the CRMs, hook up to Twilio. Value Text is another one that we use. That one hooks up to our custom CRM, so it's like a little bit more of a customization thing. But there's a lot of great, and a lot of the CRMs have built-in texting, right? Like the follow-up bosses and the active campaigns. They've got some kind of built-in provider that they sell. So that's also a really easy one. The interesting thing about that is use the one that I usually just use. I would use whatever's built into your CRM to just keep it simple.
Cool. Awesome. Well, how about Craigslist or Zillow? Does anybody call on those anymore? Is that a worthy thing?
Oh, yeah. So Craigslist is almost zero. I don't have it. And we have hundreds of clients that we work with right now. I don't think anyone's using Craigslist, at least not at scale anymore. Zillow, still a lot of retail real estate is done through Zillow.
Does that mean that people should call Craigslist or no? If nobody's doing it.
Yeah, I just, as a farming ad, so I know agents that are going to call, some of the for sale by owners on there. They just don't. What that tells me, Julie, is that there's not enough ROI to hire someone to help you. People that are doing that are just not making enough money, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So what's your read on the Zillow stuff?
So Zillow is another one of those. Again, it's a great lead source. We can convert it to appointment 30-40% of the time. It's a great lead source. The only problem with it is that another one of those adequately priced lead sources. Each lead, in my area, Seattle, it's going to be hundreds of dollars for each lead, $200, $250.
About you working the agent's Zillow lead flow. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, correct. Yes. As the lead comes in, we call it.
Cold calling off Zillow.
Oh, cold calling off Zillow. Oh, well, I don't have great numbers off of that. Like make me move for sell by owner kind of things.
Yeah, or like people who are renting and call and say, "Have you considered selling instead of renting?"
We don't really do that. That. So I don't have great numbers off that, to be honest with you. Like cold call. Usually, when folks hire us to do like for sell by owner or rental calling, they generate a list, and that maybe they generate it off of Zillow. That's a good question. But they usually generate lists off of some of these other services, like a Mojo, like a Red X.
What's a better converter, for sale by owners or expireds?
Right now, both are super tough, right? Because it's because of the market, where the market's at. I think if I were to compare apples to, like overall, the hardest ones to convert are probably the for sale by owners. They're just a little bit more difficult. And again, it's just the market. We're in a super hot sellers market. So both of them have gotten way harder. Again, when we started in 2015, we could get 3, 4, 5 appointments just calling expireds in a single day. Now, I think you're lucky to get one appointment calling those lead sources a day. So, it's definitely gone down. The conversion rate continues to go down. It's just a function of the market. When the market shifts, it's going to shift. When it shifts, you're going to see those come roaring back. Right.
Yeah. I have some good for sale by owner stuff if anybody's interested in that. But as far as what to say to those guys or what to do. But how about best time to call? Morning, day, noon, night, Saturdays?
Oh, yeah. So, in general rule across the U.S., evenings tend to be a better time to get people on the phone. However, I always caveat that, right? Because realtors never call in the evenings. They just never do it. It's very rare. The best time to call, if you're a realtor or an investor, is just whenever you can actually make time to call. So calling is more important than what time. Calling, just making the call in and of itself is a much more important activity than doing it at the perfect time. So yes, 4 to 8 p.m. is our kind of peak contact time for sure. What's that?
What if you're hitting up that first 14 attempts in 60 days, that first 6 or 7 the first week? Do you mix it up?
Mix it up. Always mix it up. Yeah. You'll try to mix it up because there's no guarantee that the time that we're free that moment, they're going to be, we don't always call at the same time every day. We do mix it up. It's going to be a combination of evening calling, morning calling. And since we have when we're doing that marketing plan, that 60-day marketing plan, when we do that, it's usually going to be our pay per lead ISA team. That's usually what we do. So you have a team of ISAs. They're able to call kind of different days and at
Right.
different times. Makes it a lot easier. If you only have your own time, and you do your calls, like people recommend in the morning, 8 to 10, 9 to 11, make it then. It's more important to do the touch than to hit it at the perfect time.
Any courtesy rules? Don't call before this. Don't call after that.
Well, the federal regulation, you can't call before 8 a.m. local time, and you can't call after 9 p.m. local time. So other than that, we don't call on weekends. Not holidays. We dedicated ASAs don't work holidays; they rest holidays. So a little bit of a courtesy there. Anything other than that, like holidays and before 9 and after, before 8 and after 9 is open season.
Yep. How about commercial real estate? Do you call any commercial real estate leads?
No, we mostly focus on retail and retail investors. That's our sweet spot. It's what we had the most success in.
Okay. Awesome. How about, have you guys noticed any uptick in anything related to pandemic stuff, like forbearance, pre-foreclosure, people that are behind on their mortgage, even if they're just in forbearance and there's nothing official on them yet, or any uptick in landlords who are tired of all this eviction shit and all that stuff? Have you noticed any certain type of list, I guess I'll say, lead list that is
the biggest thing I've seen, like the biggest, I guess, pre-COVID and post-COVID thing that we've seen is this is true of all online leads, but particularly Facebook, the costs went way down because a lot of businesses went out of business, right, earlier in the spring and the summer. So cost per leads went way down.
No, and also because Facebook went cheap. That's why everybody should be banging those out, because when they had to scale back, all these businesses had to scale back on their advertising costs.
100%.
They can't be open or whatever's going on. They're not spending their same advertising dollars. So that just is
correct. And Facebook works the same way in Google, and it's an auction, right? All these the cost of the lead, the cost of the views, the cost of the clicks, it's all an auction base. When you have less people bidding, the price goes down, right? But there's a double whammy, right? Cost per lead went down, and the connection rate got up because there's more people at home because they're working from home. Their kids are can't go to school. And again, as the pandemic progresses, that's a trend. It's not like a 1 month thing. It's definitely a trend. So I think both those things are something you have to consider. So if you're not trying Facebook, you got to give it a try because it's a better deal than it was a year ago.
I have a deal, a retail broker deal closing in, next Friday that came to me. Commission's about over 14, close to 15,000. And it is off a Facebook video view ad that cost me 3 cents per, through play, right?
Nice.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
That's not bad. I'll take those every day of the week. Right.
Come on, guys. If you want to learn how to do that, hit me up, right? If you guys want to learn to do this, which you absolutely need to do, you're missing out. And I was the last person probably on the planet to get skilled in this. At least Joe's probably cracking up. But it is now so I feel so confident being able to have those skill sets. It's crazy. Well, that's good. So last question. What are your 3 principles to make anybody better at converting Facebook leads? I saw that started off something I saw on you to ask you that.
Yeah, definitely. It's my thing. So, hey, the 3 steps to converting more Facebook leads. Really quickly, number 1 is you have to have some kind of speed to lead. You've got to have somewhere where you're reaching out to them right away. If they fill out that lead form, if they fill out some kind of questionnaire, they're coming to you. And even if you're not able to make the call right then and there, at least text them. Have some kind of, through like a tool like Zapier, you can set up an automatic text message. Your CRM might have automation built in. Send them at least an email. I know email's not great, but it's better than nothing because the consumer does expect some kind of acknowledgement, an instant response. It's just the times we live in, right? They're on their phone, they're browsing Facebook, they clicked on your ad. They want to see something while they're still on their phone. A phone call would be the best, but a text message or an email could also work. You want an instant response. It will help in the conversion rate. Step number 2, yes, most of them are not going to convert on that first touch. That's understood. You have to have some kind of follow-up plan in place. I already said the very bare minimum I feel you should have 14 touches within the first 60 days, minimum like that. At least have something that does that. And if you have, and you can put phone calls in that, even better, because most appointments are going to happen over the phone still. I know people hate the phone. That's true. They don't love it. Still converts the best. So mix in phone calls with your text messages on that 14 touch, and they are going to be successful. Number 3, and this is a super important one too. So you've done everything. You've done step number 1, step number 2. You're on the phone with the person. You gotta, and you mentioned this a few times, Julie, you gotta have some kind of hook, a lead magnet. You've got to know your scripts, know your objections, because it's showtime, right? And usually when I hear people say, oh, Facebook leads are terrible, online leads suck, they're usually messing up one of those 3 things, or all 3, trifecta. They're not calling in a timely manner. They're not only calling once or twice. And when they get people on the phone, they expect them to ask for the appointment, like ask them to meet with them. Like, no, it's just not going to happen. They don't care about you. They don't care about your track record. It's all about what can you do for them, right? What thing of value? If you're going to ask them, hey, you want to go meet tomorrow? They're going to say, no, I don't want to meet tomorrow. But if you pitch them in a way that talks about their problems, their concerns, and you show a little bit of empathy, curiosity, and whatever they're going through, then you are 10 times more likely to help them solve a problem. And if you can solve a problem, Julie, they will make time to meet with you if you're some kind of a solution for them. So if you go into it with that mindset, and you got to practice this, folks. People, I don't care if you're an investor, you should know your scripts and objections, right? So if you know that, you are much more likely to convert that lead. It's a skill game at that point. And the good news is that you can get better at skills.
Right. And my tip is that you've got to know if the main reason that you hook them, whatever that main message is, focus on that discussion first, because that's why they want to talk to you. You can't, say like, well, it sounds like your house is too nice and move straight to something else. You've got to basically give them what they want and then continue the conversation once you've given them what they want enough and built rapport around giving them what they contacted you in the first place about, is my tip. But you got to have the different buckets. You need to know that if they respond this way, you're going to, it's like your scripts. You have different options. And when the time is right, as part of the rapport building process, that you can open the door to bringing up that option. And if you are a specialist at providing options, even though they contacted you for one specific thing, if you can turn that into, well, yes, I'm going to give you that one specific thing, but because I specialize in options, I'm also going to give you this and this, because providing you with all the information, Mr. Seller or buyer, makes you fully informed so you can make a better decision for yourself. So if you can get that far down the road, which is my super skill set, which I love, then you are going to convert like crazy. And so for all you guys, again, hit me up. You want to talk about this kind of stuff with me. So
100%. And just from talking to you, Julie, I can tell you've got the gift of gab. You can talk. You can get people on the right path. You can help them control the conversation. I tell everybody, folks, it is a skill. You can get better at skills. You can build skills. No one is like, well, maybe you are, Julie. You were born doing this, but you can get better at this. And as long as you can improve upon that conversion rate, that is directly going to drive ROI. If I give 3 agents the same 100 Facebook leads, someone's going to get 3 transactions, someone's going to get 1, someone's going to get 0, right? The same leads. So as long as you understand that game, you just have to realize it's a skill set you have to build.
Exactly. Well, this has been fun, Gus. Jeez, Louise, we could go on forever here.
I love talking shop.
Forever. This is good. So you're going to come back. Yeah. Anytime you want to come on and talk about stuff, or you've noticed anything, whatever, you and me for this forward.
100%. I'm preparing that YouTube material. I really want to make sure I get it honed in, because I don't want to just talk on my ass. I actually want to talk about something that I know about. So once I've got that material, Julie, I will definitely let you know, and we'll be back on.
Sounds good. So where should people engage with you? What if they're like, dang, this guy is awesome, I want to hire his ISA team, or I want to talk to him more? How do they get access? Where can they learn more about your company? Or what is it, speedtolead.com or getspeedtolead.com, or where do we go?
The best place is PowerISA.com. That's our main landing page. Okay. Get Speed to Lead is actually, that's where our pay per lead information is. And you can go to both. PowerISA is the main one. It's the best known one. You can just look me up on Facebook. If you type PowerISA into the search bar on Facebook, I'm going to pop up. I have a Facebook group, 100% free, people to join in, talking about marketing and masterminding and conversion stuff, mostly about retail real estate, but also a lot of investors in there too. So, I love to continue the conversation on Facebook, or you just visit us at powerisa.com.
And remember, guys, the same principles that a real estate broker might use is the same principles that you will use. I mean, this is crossover type stuff. You could be like you could be out selling whatever, and this information can actually apply to you, right? And then, so don't think this is just for real estate brokers. But I love this stuff, and I love teaching investors and brokers this kind of stuff. And, yeah. So there you go. I'm so excited. My head's spinning. I'm not
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I appreciate the opportunity. I love talking to you, Julie, and I love talking to folks that are like in it, right? Like in the game. Because you can tell, right? Like, yeah, you definitely do this on a daily basis, and you have a lot of success about it. And I love that you help teach other folks to do it, right? I think a lot of times on the investing side, I see a lot of folks that kind of keep it a little close. It's a little bit more guarded, much more than real estate and retail. On the investor side, I love it when I see folks are actually trying to spread the knowledge, spread the word. They have communities like the one you've built. It's a great, great, great thing to see.
Absolutely. So I'm going to let you guys all know who are listening. I appreciate everybody listening all the way to the end of this awesome podcast, because it's been a long one, but a worthy one. How you can plug in with us. We all know that you guys are going to go to powerisa.com or connect with Gus. Is it on social media? You are not Gus though.
That's my full name, Gustavo Munoz Castro. Yeah. Or you can just type in PowerISA and I will pop up too.
Excellent. And Joe's going to drop all that stuff in the show notes as well that you guys can grab down there. But if you would like to connect with us, as Gus has mentioned, my existence and my being is the exact opposite of hoarding and not sharing information. I'm an oversharer. I'll tell you guys everything that I know. And I enjoy it. And I enjoy, of course, seeing other people succeed. And I love coaching other agents and investors as well to help them succeed. And so with that said, for those of you that don't know, you probably do, but if you don't, you can join us every single Thursday, Pacific time. Hello to everybody who is not in the Pacific Northwest or in the Seattle area. We appreciate you listening from all across the United States. As we know, we do have listeners because we track that stuff everywhere. Which is pretty interesting. And thank you. But you can plug in all the stuff we talk about on our meetups and roundtables, and in my personal broker coaching community called the VIP Education Community applies everywhere. You don't have to be in Seattle. You don't have to be in Washington. The stuff we talk about applies everywhere, right? And then if we need state-specific stuff, we can go drill down from there. So if you would like to connect with me, and you would like to join in the conversation more as an investor or a broker, you can join me every single Thursday, and Joe and Gus, you should join us when you can. That'd be fun.
Absolutely. No, hey, invite me. And if there's anything specific you want to talk about, I'd love to address the group, or I'd love to just come and see what you guys talk about. I'd love it.
So every single Thursday from 11:30 to 12:30 Pacific time, we group up. We have a roundtable discussion. I'm getting tired of the word mastermind a little bit. I'm into the word roundtable right now. So you guys will see me say that. I don't know why. I feel like everybody on the planet is using the word mastermind as a mastermind. So I'm going to call it a roundtable. And that's 11:30 to 12:30 every single Thursday Pacific time. All you need to do is go to meetup.com, look for the Seattle Investors Club meetup group, join it. And every Thursday morning, you can grab the link to, it's just a Zoom roundtable meetup during these times. We'll go back to in-person later when we can, back again. Although I'm kind of enjoying the online stuff, to be honest with you. More people show up too, and we get a more diverse crowd. So join us every Thursday. And if you are a broker and you are interested in learning how you can join me in my free broker coaching community, it's not a team, it's a community, which I can explain to you the details about later. It's called the VIP Education Community. If you'd like to get closer to me and work closer with me and learn all these great things with all my great friends like Gus, hit me up. Just you can even just text me 206-910-2985. That's probably the fastest way to get my attention these days. So other than that, I hope you guys all jump on and join our YouTube channel for Seattle Investors Club, where we have hundreds and hundreds of videos, all our podcasts, tips of the day, and all that stuff. If you guys actually, I'm going to throw this out there. If you guys are out there listening, brokers, investors, people that service the real estate industry, lenders, private lenders, and you want to send me a video recorded tip of the day on something that you feel is very helpful, go ahead and send it to me at julie@seattleinvestorsclub.com. And we might go ahead and post that on our YouTube channel. What do you think about that, Joe? I just made that shit up right there.
Great idea. Love it.
Yeah. So you guys are all welcome. We're going to vet those. So, but please do it. That would be fun. Okay. And make sure that you introduce yourself on the front part of the video and tell us who you are. And then be short and sweet. We're looking for 2 to 4 minute videos, any kinds of tips or anything you want to send me, I'll look at. 2 to 4 minutes. Don't send me a book, right? That's only for me. I'm the only one that can talk for hours. All right, Joe, where can everybody find the details of today's podcast?
Yeah, all the show notes can be found at seattleinvestorsclub.com/130. That's seattleinvestorsclub.com/130.
Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. And Gus, if there's anything you want to send to Joe at seattleinvestorsclub.com that he can attach to the podcast show notes, maybe, I don't know, do you have like where do you go to check the do not call registry? If you had a link or something to that where you feel is like a compliance place, that'd be great.
Definitely.
Joe,
definitely. I can definitely say, if you want to do it on there's a manual way to do it. So it's a little bit, pesky, but it's definitely doable on your own. A lot of the tools offer the automatic filtering, which I think is a really cool feature as well. But if you have your own list that you built, yeah, you can filter it on your own 100% for free. So yeah, I'll send that link too.
Perfect. Awesome. Little value add there for you guys. Well, again, Gus, I've enjoyed this immensely today, and we will talk again soon. Join us. If anybody hasn't joined us yet, join our Facebook page for Seattle Investors Club. So you got 3 things you need to do. 1, you got to go to our meetup group for Seattle Investors Club, and you need to join it so we can communicate easily with you without getting blocked with a bunch of email, this and that, right? Number 2, join us on our Facebook page for Seattle Investors Club. It's free to join. Just fill out, we wish you would, the 3 questions, and join us there. Everybody can get in. And number 3, go to our YouTube channel for Seattle Investors Club, which I feel personally is the easiest access to get to see all the videos and tips, especially as we start inviting our friends in, like I just did, to send us their tips as well, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we'll all have fun growing and uplifting each other together. All right. That's it. I will talk to you guys on Thursday, 11:30 Pacific time. I'm actually going to show up this week. I've been so busy. It's like spring and fall for real estate. It is crazy busy right now. And I have been overloaded with inspections and all kinds of basically business, which is awesome. So I've had to miss the last 2 weeks of our meeting. But you know what's so rad? Our community is so great. I just tap on the shoulder of somebody else and they step up, and the conversation continues. So, but I will be there this week, and I look forward to talking to you guys then. All right. Over and out.
Thanks for listening to the Seattle Investors Club podcast. If you have questions that you'd like to have answered on the show, shoot us an email at info@seattleinvestorsclub.com. Now go out, take that action, and build that real estate business. Thanks for listening.